All right, welcome back to the channel. We got a good fight coming up this weekend, and that is Tevin Farmer and Jojo Diaz. But Tevin Farmer talked Gervonta Davis and said about a Gervonta Davis fight and said that he doesn't believe Gervonta Davis can lay a finger on him. Kind of disrespects Gervonta Davis a little bit. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Subscribers, hey, if you're not subscribed, I hope you accept my invitation to subscribe and hit the bell icon, and you can be notified so that you can be notified of when we release more videos. Also, special thank you to everybody that supports the channel on Patreon, everybody that supports the channel on as being a member of the channel, and everybody that supports it by going to the live streams that we do Monday through Friday and OG Boxing Talk on Sunday. Hope to see you there. All right, Tevin Farmer is 130 pound IBF champion. He has a fight coming up with Jojo Diaz, who is a former 126 pound champion, I think he's fighting with Golden Boy. At one point in time, he's fighting a Golden Boy. I think he still should be a Golden Boy, but they're going to be fighting this Thursday on the undercard of Demetrius Andrade versus Keeler, and I do believe he'll probably be fighting before a YouTuber and a soccer player. Man, I have no idea why in the world the Zone is doing that stuff, man. It is an absolute joke. But anyway, the best fight of the night, the one that I'm looking forward to, is Tevin Farmer versus Jojo Diaz. And that's because I think that all this conversation, I could be wrong, but I think that all of this conversation we're having about Tevin Farmer and whether he's going to move up to 135 pounds, what he would do against Gervonta Davis, that conversation hasn't been as hot, maybe for the last year or so than it was. But, a lot of people are interested in it because it's a Philadelphia fighter and a Baltimore fighter. So in that region of the country should be a really big fight, a good fight, definitely a good fight for that region of the country. I think that's going to be moot. I think that's going to be moot. Excuse me, not mute. It's going to be moot because I think Jojo Diaz is going to beat Tevin Farmer. I saw it when Jojo Diaz has had the perfect primer for a fight with Tevin Farmer, and that's the fight that he lost against Gary Russell Jr. When he fought for the WBC title against Gary Russell Jr. So maybe Jojo Diaz wasn't a champion because he lost to I don't think that there was anything but the WBC on the line for Jojo Diaz. So I think I stand corrected. But Jojo Diaz is a really good fighter, man. Strong fighter, technically sound fighter. And Tevin Farmer couldn't break a wet paper bag with a punch. So I'm not too confident in Tevin Farmer getting out of this fight with Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz is a southpaw on southpaw matchup, so it's going to be a little bit awkward. But again, Jojo Diaz just had a fight, or maybe it was last year, with one of the best southpaws in the business, and definitely, I believe, the best southpaw around that weight class, with the exception of Guillermo Rigondeaux, who's now moving down to 118. But the 126 to the 130, Gary Russell Jr. is the best southpaw there. I think Gary Russell Jr. is the best 130-pound fighter. So I think he's the best 126-pound fighter. So Jojo Diaz is moving up to fight Tevin Farmer, and I think that Tevin Farmer is going to have a difficult time, man. But the conversation, I digress. Before I get into the rest of that prediction, I do want to point out that Tevin Farmer is talking about moving up to 135 pounds, and that he doesn't believe that Gervonta Davis could beat him. He doesn't believe that Gervonta Davis could really lay a finger on him. I still maintain that is absolute just malarkey. I am not convinced that Tevin Farmer can go the distance with Gervonta Davis. But we will see in this Jojo Diaz fight. We will see, because like Gervonta Davis, like Jojo Diaz, Gervonta Davis is a southpaw too. Okay, and that's a southpaw matchup. And Gervonta Davis is a very amped up version of Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz is a strong fighter. He's a strong fighter. He's coming forward. He's gonna press the action. He's nowhere near as quick as Gervonta Davis. He's not as talented as Gervonta Davis. He's not as skilled as Gervonta Davis. He doesn't possess the weapon. It's like just a very, very basic mini-me version of Gervonta Davis in Jojo Diaz. And I don't think Tevin Farmer is going to get out. I don't think Tevin Farmer is going to get out of that fight with a win. Okay. Now I don't believe that Tevin Farmer is going to get knocked out. I do believe that he slips, that he's slick enough to get away with, to prevent Jojo Diaz from knocking him out. But if Jojo Diaz has the ability to cut the ring off on Tevin Farmer and have Tevin Farmer stay there, man, I'm telling you, I think Jojo Diaz is going to work that body something ugly, and he's going to wind up getting a lot of the scorecard, winning on a lot of the scorecards winning on the scorecards a lot of rounds, because he's going to be the one pressing the action. I don't think that Tevin Farmer is going to be able to just move and stay out of the way long enough to have long enough to prevent Jojo Diaz from wearing him down and getting to the point where the fight could get ugly at times. If you can't tell, I'm not the biggest Tevin Farmer fan. I'm not a big believer in him, and that's primarily because people would compare Tevin Farmer to like a Pernell Whitaker, but the major difference between Pernell Whitaker and Tevin Farmer is that Pernell Whitaker has enough pop to get your respect. He has enough pop to make you think about what you're going to throw. I do not see that. I just do not see that in Tevin Farmer, man. I don't see it. And as a result, I think what you're going to see with somebody that really can pressure him, similar to if you guys remember the Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Jose Luis Castillo fight, the first one, the way that Jose Luis Castillo approached Floyd Mayweather Jr. by cutting off the ring, wrapping his arm, he would wrap his arm around Mayweather's waist to keep him from swinging off from going off the ropes, and all of that frustration that it caused, that type of rough and tumble, come forward stuff was causing Floyd Mayweather Jr. in that fight. That's with Floyd Mayweather Jr. having punching power. If Jojo Diaz can have in any way, shape, or form can replicate that style of fight with Tevin Farmer, then Tevin Farmer is not going to get out of there with the win, because Tevin Farmer doesn't have the punching power that Floyd Mayweather Jr. had at 135 pounds. He just is the quintessential feather-fisted moving fighter. Now, athletically gifted, absolutely. He's done a lot in his career from not having a lot of amateur fights. He's definitely He's definitely made some very, very good business decisions with DAZN. He's been fighting and defending his championship. I think he's defended his championship like 5 times in the last year. So he's really raking up the title defenses. But I think this is probably, without a doubt, this is the toughest matchup that he had at 130 pounds. And this is a guy in Jojo Diaz with championship experience. But so what happens after this at 130 pounds? I'm certainly hoping, at 130 pounds, I'm certainly hoping that this means that whoever the winner is going to be able to fight like a Miguel Berchelt, right? Miguel Berchelt, I can't remember who the other champions at 130 are, but Miguel Berchelt is the real standout guy over there. I think also they have a new WBA champion. Can't remember, man. I'm usually better on my champions at 130 pounds, but whoever that is, man, I would hope that we could work towards unification at 130 pounds. If Tevin Farmer loses, moving up to 135 pounds, I think is going to be real trouble for him, because then you're stepping up in there against guys that have even more power. The 130 pound champions, Vasily Lomachenko, that fight's not going to be made with him and Vasily Lomachenko. But Vasily Lomachenko, I think, would stop Tevin Farmer. Teofimo Lopez, I think stops Tevin Farmer. The former IBF champion Richard Comey, I think he beats up if he doesn't stop Tevin Farmer. And Gervonta Davis, who's the WBA regular champion. I know he's not the champion at he's not the WBA champion at 130 pounds. That is Vasily Lomachenko, but he's the regular champion. So even that secondary belt champ would knock out Tevin Farmer, like I said before. So, anyway, but I know I've been hard on Tevin Farmer in this video. Terribly hard on Tevin Farmer in this video, but I do think that this at least is the best fight that's going to take place this Thursday, and I am looking forward to that fight. I could not care less about the YouTube fight. I could not really care less about the Demetrius Andre Keeler fight. Demetrius Andre, that's another who cares fight out of Demetrius Andre. But hey, man, he's in that situation because because the zone won't make a fight with him and the other middleweight champions that they have. They have more than enough ability to get a unification fight either with Gennady Golovkin and Demetrius Andrade. I don't think that they can convince Canelo to do anything, but it just seems like, Demetrius Andrade is like an afterthought, man, for the zone. They don't believe in him. And I think Demetrius Andrade, I don't know what his checkbook is like, but it seems like from exposure wise, man, he would have been better off. He probably would have been better off at ESPN or at Top Rank, and definitely better off at the PBC. But anyway, it is what it is. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.